President Donald Trump and the First Lady, Melania, touched down in the UK last night for his historic second state visit. They have a very busy few days ahead of them. It all kicked off about 30 minutes ago when they were greeted by the Prince and Princess of Wales in the grounds of Windsor Castle, and then accompanied them to meet King Charles and Queen Camilla. The red carpet is well and truly being rolled out for his visit, with carriage processions, military parades, red arrows, of course, and a state banquet. It is all happening. They are live pictures.
Wow.
It is,
wow.
gosh,
I hope you brought a jacket.
yeah, it's quite a procession, Nadia.
Pomp and ceremony.
It is. Absolutely.
It is. I was fascinated to see there that Melania allowed him to hold her hand, because I quite often fall into a wormhole of watching all the videos where she shakes his hand off. So that was quite interesting. You know what? I regularly listen to this podcast with Anthony Scaramucci, The Rest is Politics US, and Scaramucci was, when Trump ran the first time, was part of his campaign, and then he became communications director, was sacked a couple of weeks later, but he really, really knows Trump, and I find him... In fact, you're the same, you know. He's great.
So fascinating.
So he always gives really good insights to Trump. And
when you say he knows him on a personal level.
Yeah, yeah.
Is he a friend of his? Does he
Not
like
now.
no.
He was
Not
at
now.
one point and not.
But he really he knows all the family very well and everything. It was last year when Keir was going out for the first time, and Katty Kay, who's the other presenter, said to him, you know this guy, what advice would you be giving people back home in the UK? And he said, OK, right, first of all, Keir has to arrive with an invite from the King, inviting him for, all of this, pomp and ceremony. He has to put him in his very best dining room. He has to bring the finest wines known to mankind from the cellar, even though he doesn't drink. He said because he's going to go back and he's going to show off about it forever.
Oh, really?
And you will keep him happy. He said, you've got to keep him happy because he is so unpredictable, as we know, and he has this great affection for this country. His mother's Scottish, and so if he's made to feel almost part of the royal family, you might get a few favours.
Well, I think that's been
and look at that.
Yeah.
And is that showing ignorance as regards the reason? Because we know he only came not so long ago.
He's the only president who's had, like...
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
What is the actual political motivation for this second state visit? Is it just
to keep him? I
keep him
believe
on
it's
side?
Diplomacy. When we hear about how important the royal family is and what great standing it has across the world.
So is it for that reason, though, not just
money? And worth the money, I think that's the money there. I believe. So they've got to pander to him, whether we like him or loathe him. He is he's leader of the world.
And he is the
at
president of the United States. I was talking to a
President of
driver.
America.
Sorry,
Yeah.
No,
I was
just
talking
gonna
to
say
a
for your
taxi
reason.
driver yesterday. A driver who was part of the company that are providing the cars for this. So they said there's 500 cars they've taken, there's so many people, and for weeks and weeks and weeks they've been doing all the security and everything, because I think he's not out in the public, is he? Because the security after what's happened in the States must be absolutely heightened, I would say, at the moment.
But must be
I think you're right. The thing is with Donald Trump, he is a narcissist, so... in
your opinion, Denise?
I'm always... well, it's a fact, isn't it, really?
It's not.
But I'm always fascinated with him on social media, because there's all these things going on and these terrible things. And he would rather say, well, I was at a state banquet the other day and such said that I was wearing a pretty snazzy jacket. And you think he's more bothered about what people have said to blow smoke up his you-know-what.
It looks like no matter what the idea, whether it's to stroke the ego or for political gain, I think, they've definitely succeeded. Look at it. I think it's so...
You know the King very well. What advice would you give Trump?
President Trump, make sure you bring the best dark rum for our king, because that's what he likes. But, I mean, it just... What it brings it back to, for me, taking all of like Trump and everything aside, it just shows how much... I know there's always this conversation about whether the royals should still be in state and all of this, but look what people like someone like Trump is obsessed, and so many other people. I've never seen anything like this in my life.
It is quite extraordinary. But I mean, going back to when Keir Starmer invited him when he went to meet Donald Trump for the first time after becoming Prime Minister, and he whipped out the invite, you know, it was like, this is like a very special thing. It was like a playing card.
It was
like
the scroll.
It was, yes,
yeah.
exactly, and it was such a big thing. But I think for no matter what you think of Donald Trump and what your opinions are and emotional feelings towards him, he still is the President of the United States. He's the leader of the free world. Our relationship with America is incredibly important. So going back to what we were talking about with
I'm just
the
sitting
podcast,
very, very still.
No, but this, I think this is unfortunately, whether we like it or not, we do have to sort of almost distance
I am all for
ourselves
keeping that
from
relationship strong because it makes me feel safer, even though we know I just prefer the relationship with the United States to remain strong.
Yeah, well, and I think this is basically what we're seeing now, isn't it? But I tell you what, it looks like a very fancy day. There's all sorts going on. I mean, ceremonial welcome, of course, at Windsor Castle. There's a Royal Collection exhibition in the drawing room then, and then a tour of St George's Chapel. And, yeah, the state banquet, royal procession and speeches at Windsor Castle. I mean, it's a full-on itinerary. Let's put it that way.
We always find the money from somewhere, don't we?
That's
Wow.
interesting times.